Well, hello there again, friends. Today is 5/11/2022, and today is the Odin Project Vlog Day 101. And I am back from vacation. I had a great time. Was gone a little over a week or so. Out of state. Went cross country with my family, enjoyed the ocean, and had a great time. So much that I had a little bit of a brain dump here. So it took me a little bit of work getting back in the groove here when I hit the code again a couple days ago. So it took me a little bit longer than I anticipated, but nevertheless, I got through section of 4. 4 is not done, but I really wanted to put out a video since it's been a long time, and I didn't want to leave you guys hanging, and I didn't want a single video to become really long. So we're going to kind of break number 4 here into parts. So I'm going to go over the first section of what I did today, and then the next video will be finishing up section 4. So section 4 says, build the functions that allow players to add marks to a specific spot on the board, and then tie it to the DOM, letting players click on the game board to place their marker. Don't forget the logic that keeps players from playing in spots that are already taken. And then sub A says, think carefully about where each bit of logic should reside. Each little piece of functionality should be able to fit in the game, player, or game board objects, but take care to put them in logical places. Spending a little time brainstorming here can make your life much easier later. So that's what I started out on. So let's just hit the editor and get going here. So I refactored a little bit here. I watched my last video to get myself caught back up, and one thing that I had was an additional. I created a fourth module called Render Array to Screen module, and it was created as an object module. I have since removed that, and I put it inside of display controller module. So you'll see here called on a click event, and we'll go over all that. But the reason I did that was not anything technical. It was more from the stance of I was trying to stay within the confines of this project, which here, the little piece here, it says should be able to, basically all your code should be able to either fit in game, player, or game board objects. So they didn't, list a fourth module that I had that I did in the previous step 3. So I went ahead and just refactored that into the display control module. So I didn't change anything about game board module. That remained the same. So since I'm not entirely sure what I had and didn't have, because I refactored this module quite a bit, we'll just go through it from top to bottom real quick. I didn't change anything down here. This is just a test block. Still may remove it, but I commented it out. We'll go through that again. I didn't change anything with create player. That factory function is still the same from the previous video. I still have my to-dos here, and I didn't do anything with the hard-coded create player inputs. So let's just go over the display control module. And so it starts out with a constant make move, which takes on document.querySelector all game board button. So what this is going to do is what I ended up doing. I probably should go over this too. In the last video, I probably should have did this, but I forgot. I didn't have any buttons, silly me, on the game board, so there was no way you could make a play. So basically, I added a child button under each div of grid box, and it's just a button with the same class name of game board buttons, and just called it select just to have some text in there. And you can see I have that for every single div class, so there should be 8 of those or 9 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. And so there's that. That's where those are at. So those are hard coded in. So what we're doing here is we're selecting all of them through the query selector method, and we're going to make a variable called make move out of that. And so here we're going to start indexing and looping through each button node. So this creates a node list, by doing this. So we make move is now a node list of all the elements of game board, all the buttons of game board button. So we're going to create an index at 0, and then we're going to do a for each looping through each node list of make move. And so for each loop, we're going to have a parameter make moves dot dataset dot link button equals index. And what this does is just sets. There's probably better ways. Again, like I say in a lot of my videos, my way may not be the best way. Or the only way. It's just my way of doing it. So caveat that was saying that I stuck the index in the counting of the index, so it's going to increment up, and its value is going to be placed in this link button data attribute. Sorry, Tourette's is active. So anyway, so the index is going to come through here, and on 0 it'll come in as 0. So it's going to. We've been through this before. We talked about this data set attribute in the previous library app project. But if you don't remember, it creates a linked button attribute inside of the button here. So there'll be a link dash. There'll be a data dash link dash button, and it will have the index value of each loop. So it's going to start off 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 8. So since there's 9, we're starting it at 0, so it'll be 8, 0 through 8. And then we have make moves. We're going to add an event listener to it, a click, and then we're going to call render array to screen. And then right here is your function. It's a local private function, render array to screen, and it's going to start by having constant grid boxes equal document dot query selector all grid box. So what we're doing here, just like up here, same type ideas. So we're taking all of the grid boxes, all these grid boxes here, all these divs for the game board, and we're creating a node list called grid boxes, and then we're going to do the same bit of logic here. We're going to start an index at 0, and this is another nested for each. So we're going to go through each grid box on this for each, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to index up the same linked button. We can do that because this is on a different element, so you can have the same name. Probably not the best practice, but for me it was just less confusion, because you're always going to define your parameter element anyway, so it's going to be different each time. So there won't be any confusion there with the variable name, parameter name. And then here we have render click play on correct grid box display. So here what we do is this logic here checks to see when you click the button, does the button make sure that the button you clicked matches the grid box node that it's selected on. So this logic is just an if statement. It says, and I actually googled this. So we have gridbox.get attribute, and then parentheses quote data linked button. So what this does is this gets the attribute that we set up here. So you remember earlier we set our data link button, and it's typed out like this syntactically because in the get attribute it has to take the HTML. So it's going to go out to the HTML and it's going to search for data linked button. And so you can't use the unfortunately here you can't use the linked button like this. You can't use the I guess that'd be the parameter element JavaScript. You have to use the name that's shown out in the attributes of the HTML, which is called data dash link button or dash button for gridbox. So we're gonna get that, and if that contents of that number is equal to the same thing just on the make moves, which is what we did before, make moves looped over as well. So basically, if the grid box equals the make moves button, so if 0 equals 0, then we know we're targeting the correct item. So then gridbox text content, we've been over this a billion times. This takes on the value of gameboard module.gameboard. So I had to add the gameboard module parameter there because gameboard, as you remember up here, is, even though I am returning it, it's not global, because returning gameboards is only returning it back inside the anonymous function. It's not returning it out to, it's returning out to gameboard module, which is that is the global. So basically, unless I misunderstand that, gameboard module.gameboard gets you the access to the property string. If you just type in gameboard, it doesn't recognize it. So I think it has to do with the fact that it's inside of a module and not declared itself, if that makes sense. And then inside of here we have gameboard module.gameboard, and in the bracketry, the brackets inside, we have gameboard module.gameboard.length -1, and what this just does is takes the length and then goes to the most recent one, basically. So in the array, since we had I'm still setting it up manually right here. This is the part that I haven't set up yet. I haven't wired up the logic for auto entries, so I just plugged in the X here. So it's just gonna, -1 just takes in the most recent gameboard array item, and then that applies it to the text content, so that will then show up on the grid box. And then there's a couple console.logs I put in here just for diagnostic purposes to make sure that my data sets are matching in value. And you'll see that in the console log when I demo this for you on screen. And then there is an index ++ here, so we're incrementing the index here for this one's for the grid box for each loop, and this one is the index incremental for the make move for each, which is the button. So you got one for the grid boxes and one for the button. Honestly, I don't know why I'm going to keep it now. I don't know why I use make move. It doesn't really make sense. I probably should use make move button or something like that. But anyway, so make move is my buttons, and then grid boxes is what it sounds like. This is my grid boxes. So there's the increments for each of those, and that's why they're stuck out and look like that, because they're looping or indexing and incrementing up the index for each of those for eaches. And here is the same thing we had before. Just ignore it. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I just want to keep it in here as example logic in case I need to use it down the road. I have that functionality there to basically have an internal variable that I can call and make it external, but make it public, but that the testdef is only accessible through calling it there. So nothing else has changed. I will say there are a couple things on the CSS. I did reduce the font size on the grid box to 50. It was at 100. I did that because I wanted the X and the O's to be a little smaller because they were too big at 100 and they were shifting around the boxes too much and causing my whole game board to basically grow out of proportion. So reduce that. And added a game board button, background color white, grid row 2, 3, as you'll see here. So it's spanning the second and third grid row lines. And then start game button. I didn't have anything in there yet. So the work in progress is that. So I haven't wired up the logic yet. The logic for the spots already taken is done. And the logic for functionality of the on-click, the click button action, and creating the marker on the screen is done, but I haven't gotten to any other parts yet, and so we'll just showcase that now. So here's a Tic Tac Toe. So I've got all my selects here, my buttons. So if I click this one, it'll put the X in there, and it basically, I would normally do a hide on the select button or disable. so that it can't be clicked again to satisfy that additional logic that we just went over. But it's not needed because if you see here, it's disappeared. So when you do, I found out just by accident actually, when you do dot text content, when you write in there, anything inside of that grid has been overwritten. So to include the select button. So if you look here on the grid, you see how this first grid no longer has a child button. It just is literally removed, and you'll see it remove live there as I click the second one. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want actually. Not by design, it's actually by accident, but I'll take it. So here's the console.logs showing the matching values of the make moves in the grid box, so I can make sure that that logic's there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's how it should be. Yep, there's 8. There's 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And I have a start reset game. I got a little ahead of myself on that. It doesn't do anything yet. I just stuck the button in there. That's for a later video. But anyway, so that's that. Is there anything else that I forgot? I don't think so. And again, this is subject to change too as we roll down the road. I've been working on this quite a bit here and trying to clean it up, make it look good. So I like it so far. I like the way it's going. So next video, I've got to work on trying to figure out how to. So now that I've got the select buttons working and just posting, it's posting X just because that's why I have hard coded in the array. The next video, I need to dynamically set up the array, or maybe the next two videos, we'll see. But I got to have the array fill itself, kind of like we did for the library app. So I got a lot more logic to write there, and then I got to write a front-end interface to take in the user, because right now it has the stuff from the previous two videos in it. So Justin's still in here because he's hard-coded, and so Justin's playing as X, but that's hard-coded. So X doesn't mean anything right now. It's just what I have hard-coded in, and then I think James is still in here too. Yep, and James is Y, or excuse me, O. But he doesn't do anything either because they're just hard-coded in. So I've got a lot of work to do. I just wanted to get a good video out to you guys, and I feel like this was a good place to stop and get back in the flow of things. So I'm glad to be back. I had a great vacation, and I'm ready to rock and roll with you guys and keep moving on. So I hope you enjoyed the journey with me today and learned a little bit along the way. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content. And let me know in the comments section how you guys are coming along with Tic Tac Toe and making it work for you, and how your solutions are coming along. So, and don't forget to push your commits to Git through Git to GitHub so that you can have your versioning set up and keep that intact. And I'll do that after this video. And so with all that said, until next time, see ya.